Alright, welcome to our first review class here online. The first problem we're going to be going over is in preparation for our exam this Friday. This is a question dealing with our directional equations, our velocity as well as acceleration equations. The question states, a boy on a sled pushes off from the top of a hill at a velocity of 3 meters per second. If he accelerates at 0.50 meters per second squared, what is his velocity after 8 seconds? And the second part of the question is, what is his average velocity? Okay, so part A, I've started over here on the left. We're going to use the equations, the equation velocity final is equal to velocity initial plus acceleration times time. Okay, so let's look back at our problem and see what's given. Let's start with that. So what's given is a boy on the sled pushes off from the top of a hill at a velocity of 3 meters per second. Okay, 3 meters per second is going to give us our initial velocity. It's what he's going the moment that he pushes off from the top of the hill. So let's write that down on the piece of paper. So we know our initial velocity is 3 meters per second. Okay, now the problem also gives us that if he accelerates at a rate of 0.5 meters per second squared, what is his velocity after 8 seconds? So it gives us the acceleration as well. The acceleration is 0.5 meters per second squared. Sorry, that's my sister's phone over there. Okay, now it also gives us the time. It says if he accelerates at 0.5 meters per second squared, what is his velocity after 8 seconds? So our time is 8 seconds. And again, it asks for the velocity after that time. So our final velocity is unknown. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so essentially from here, all we have to do is plug these into this equation and solve for our final velocity. So let's write this equation with these variables input. Velocity final is unknown, so we leave that as a variable. Is equal to velocity initial, which is 3, plus our acceleration, which is 0.5, times our time, which is 8 seconds. Now, you shouldn't have to use a calculator to do this calculation. It's fairly simple. So, our velocity final is equal to 3 plus half of 8, which is 4. 3 plus 4 is 7. So, our final velocity comes out to be 7 meters per second. This is the final answer for part A. Now let's go over to part B. Part B states, what is his average velocity? Now, on the test you'll be given some of these you'll be given all of these formulas, including this one and this one. If it's asking for the average velocity, obviously you're going to pick the formula that talks about the average velocity. Now we solved for final velocity, and the problem gives us our initial velocity in the initial part of the problem. So let's input those and see what we come up with. Velocity average is obviously going to be our unknown. Now, the initial velocity is given to us, and it's 3 meters per second. The final velocity we just solved for, and it's going to be 7 meters per second. So, this is also pretty simple math. We can do this pretty easily. So the inside of the parentheses is 10, and half of 10 is 5. And that concludes this problem.